Today we are going to have a go at painting a burn that we've already casted up and prepped. And for this you will need, so we've got some alcohol activated paint with some isopropyl. We get this in 5-litre bottles, but decanted it into the smaller ones so it's easier for use on these kind of jobs. We've got a wide, finer detail brush, and we've got a nice makeup dusting brush. We'll be using a couple of little extra bits when the burn is ready for use. These are kind of like last minute add-ons, but we'll do the majority of the work with the painting and maybe a little bit of secret sauce at the end. We've got our burn mould here, and you can see there's some quite, as the light catches it, we've got some quite like defined tissue damage here, and you can see that underneath the skin layer we're actually exposed right down, so it's a full thickness burn. So what we're going to do is we're going to start kind of with the lightest colours at the lowest level of skin, and then work our way out to the external tissue, which will be quite dark and blackened. That's kind of what we're aiming for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a bit of sunny yellow to give us a nice base coat. We're going to start getting a nice thick bit of sunny yellow, so that's a little bit mucky from before. I mean, we're going to lighten this anyway, and I guess it's sort of realistic to have it kind of discoloured. You can see this is quite liquid. It was very liquid. Just trying to thicken up the paint a bit. You can see it's not exactly sunny yellow here. This can be a feature, not a bug, demonstrating that this can be done with whatever paints that you have lying around. And again, this is a base coat. If we were doing painting by numbers, I'd say don't worry too much about staying within the lines, because we're going to be building up a lot of layers. But for the sake of our brushes, we're starting with the lighter colours first. Well, no, I'm no Bob Ross. I do have big hair and a beard though. Just trying to get a bit more coverage in with slightly thicker paint. But you'll see there's a lot of different colours going into that exposed tissue underneath, some of which look quite yellow. We've got our burns course coming up in the next couple of weeks, so I will be sure to pester them and say, can you explain? Well, no, I just like listen to what's being said on the course. That's probably a more sensible idea. You can see, so I don't know if it shows up on camera, but there are some slightly like a protuberant features here, so I'm just picking those out with a little dab of the white. Again, as we build up the layers, you'll see where elements kind of poke through a little bit more and where some are hidden. One of the great things about painting kind of textured materials is that the texture actually does a lot of the heavy lifting for you, so you can almost just let the paint run into the cracks and pop out on the raised surfaces. So now we're going to go for a bit of crimson red. Now this process, what we're going to do here is you can see the excessive amount we're going, because what we're going to do is we're going to create a wash. So as I was saying before, we can kind of let the texture of the casting do some of the heavy lifting for us. So this is like, it should be dripping off your brush, like super dilute. And then I think what I'll do, just for safety's idea, start with the smallest one and work our way up. So I might just we'll go with this one. It's not quite the smallest one, but you can see how much that's running there. Just do a little drip, and you can see the difference between the white area and the yellow area and how the colours are behaving there. And we're just getting in there with the wash and letting it follow the contours of the mould, and you can see how it's, you know, I wasn't sure this was going to work, but actually I'm quite pleased with it. It's looking good. It's looking good. Anyone who has done any model painting before, Secret 40k fans, etc., will be familiar with this process. Overfill that bottle just a little. But yes, again, nice and dilute. Now as the alcohol evaporates off, you should see like the different layers that are starting to come through. And this might look a little bit weird when you start doing it. But now we're going to go for a nice thick bit of red, and we're going to create a red, crimson red base coat. So the same principle as we did with the yellow. Get it nice and thick on your brush. So this time we should have slightly thicker paint than this, but I'm just going to keep going anyway. And again, layering is the key, but I'm avoiding going into the depressed areas, the exposed areas, whatever you want to call them, because I don't want to go in too heavily with the red in there, because we've got that nice wash effect and I want to kind of keep that as it is. So you might actually feel a little bit happier kind of doing this with the detail brush, like so, but you know, and again you can see how, like, you know, the detail of this mold. Again, big shout out to Saviour Medical. These have got such lovely skin textures in them that with the slightest bit of paint it just pops straight away. Okay, next up we're gonna go with some old blood. Someone's gonna be watching this being like, dude, you didn't clean your brush. Yeah, but this is the reason for going light to dark. Another kind of wash. So I'm just gonna spot out over here. Just see, yeah, you see, lovely lines. Lovely. You can see, so we've got the discoloration, we've got the yellow, we've got some raised elements. So we're kind of heading in that kind of direction there. So in this palette we've got one called Bruising. Again, I'm just going in quite dilute. Hit some areas harder than others, I think. Get a bit of discoloration in particular areas, so like, well, it looks good. This bit's a bit raised, so let's go in with some bruising there. Well, it's very dilute because you can see, if you look here, you can see where the alcohol's actually just removed the wash that we put on before. Release an ugly, wiggly, ugly, squiggly dog. Just gently going in here. Again, if you wanted to use the detail brush for this, you could. It depends on how you want to pick out these bits that are going to be that little bit darker. Look looks slightly more organic, I guess, and you don't get big streaks. I think with these edges where we're going to blend it, we're not too bothered, because this is just like a flat bit of silicon. Ignore this. Go away. It's a point worth making that, you know, it comes off pretty easily with IPA. I'll give this brush a proper clean later. Next, I think we're going to do something. So this is our flat bottom flat bristle brush. Now these didn't turn out great yesterday when I tried it, but I'm not going to give up that easily. I'm going to try get some highlights going. So this one we're going to get nice and lathered, and then we're going to take off as much of the paint as we can. Oh, I've put loads of white in my stuff. You didn't see that. And then we're going to, so hardly any paint on there. And what we're going to do is what's called dry brushing. So I've taken the majority of the paint off, and I'm just going to come in and try and hit these elevated areas very gently, just to make them pop out a little bit more. Again, an old model making favourite, dry brushing, but you'll see that, you know, we're just doing a little bit here and there, and it really does make, it gives you the little bit of extra surface detail there that we weren't quite getting before. I don't think I'm going to do too much more dry brushing at this stage because it makes me kind of nervous. Maybe I'll get some of these edges. Yeah, that's probably cool, yeah. Just grabbing a couple of highlights here and there. Accentuate those edges. Can you see? Nice little bit of detail there. So next up, we are going to go in with the detail brush. Detail. And for this, I am using a fake blood rather than a paint because it looks better. So we've got our detail brush, and I'm just going to go in, put the lid back on the bottle like a good person, and we're going to go in and we're going to hit these contours. So like in here. I haven't tried this with Pigs Might Fly yet. That is on the agenda. A little bit much there, but I'm going to just go ahead and get in those little nooks and crannies, the alcoves. I think I'm going to chicken out and call it there with the blood. Now, this is an important thing to state. I wouldn't do this bit until you were applying it to the mannequin, I don't think, because this shit gets everywhere. Want to be sparing with it. But this is coal dust. Apply to distressed skin, prosthetics, hair, and costumes. It's like black powdered paint. It's totally ridiculous. But we're gonna get a little bit on the brush. So you can see I'm trying to bash a lot of this off because it's just ridiculous. And again, very gently, we're going to go and we're going to hit the high areas. You know. So the reason I say don't use this until you've got it on the thing is because you can like quite easily blend this in with whatever's behind it. It's going to overpower your layering if you go in too heavy with this. And we still want some of that depth, some of that texture with the washes behind, from the washes behind rather. I think, oh yeah, you can see bend 9. This is your burn. Got nice layers. Let's say you've made this on a quiet day, and then your burn sim's coming up. You're going to apply this to your mannequin, to your actor. But then the secret sauce. So just prior to your sims, you're going to get some OptiLube. Other lubes are available. and then you're going to get in to the burns, to the exposed tissue, and you're going to smush this all about, and it is going to look like, or rather more like, exposed tissue. I think I've probably gone a little bit overboard here because I'm not paying attention and trying to do two things at once.